Welcome to the Hardware Service Guide for Arista Networks 7500 series modular data center switches. This video provides information concerning safety precautions, handling, removal, installation, and verification of field replaceable units specific to the Arista Networks 7500 series switches. In this video, we will cover the following topics: the 7500 series data center switch overview, rack mounting, powering the switch, managing airflow, fabric modules, supervisor modules, line card modules, connecting power, LED indicators, and verifying operation. The content in this video is an addendum to the quick start guides and does not cover all the safety precautions found in the full guide. For complete safety precautions and specifications, see the Safety and Compliance Guide. For access to the quick start guides, go to the support heading on arista.com, choose the product documentation page, then select the hardware tab. For data sheets, go to the products heading at arista.com, select the corresponding switch series bar. For cables and transceivers information and references, go to the products heading at arista.com and choose the transceivers and cables page. The tools required are as follows. Standard hand tools such as screwdrivers may be required. Certified lifting devices may be required for chassis and fabric modules located above 5 feet. A serial port RS-232 and a computer may be required to verify operation using the command line interface. Verification procedures for successful FRU replacement via LED status and CLI commands are provided within each FRU replacement section immediately after the FRU item is installed. A list of CLI commands pertinent to verification is also summarized for convenience at the end of this presentation. Some activities in this video require CLI access. Please refer to EOS Configuration Guide to learn how to access the switch CLI. At any time during your installation, you may contact Arista Networks TAC by email, web, or phone. The 7500 series data center switches offer a choice of two modular systems, one with a 4-card and one with an 8-card capacity. Field replaceable units include switch chassis, power supplies, power cards, fabric modules, supervisor modules, and line cards. Prior to installation, equipment should be inspected to ensure all components are present and not damaged. Be sure to observe these guidelines to avoid ESD damage while installing or servicing the switch. The 7500E normally ships as a bundle with 4 power cables, 6 fabrics with integrated fans, 1 supervisor module, all pre-installed in the chassis. Line cards and additional supervisor modules are shipped separately. The 7500E also ships with a 2-post rack mount kit, a 4-post rack mount kit, 4 power cables, 2 RJ45 Ethernet patch cables, and 2 RJ45 to DB9 adapter cables. Before racking the switch, be sure you have enough space in and around the rack. The 7504 requires 7 rack units and the 7508 requires 11 rack units. Next, determine which side of the rack will be front and which will be rear, keeping in mind that the 7500 chassis airflow is front to rear. The 7500 supports 2-post or 4-post rack mounting. This video covers 4-post rack mounting procedure. First, attach both front right and left brackets and shelf supports to the front rack post. Next, attach both rear right and left brackets and shelf supports into the rear rack post. Next, install the right and left shelves. Last, lift chassis into shelf and tighten thumb screws. Grounding pad may be found on the front of the chassis on either side of the power input socket. Connect the grounding pad on the switch to the data center ground. Please refer to the full Quick Start Guide 7500 series modular data center switches. For access to this guide, go to the support heading at arista.com, choose the product documentation page, then select the hardware tab. Follow your data center procedures and ensure to meet regulations. The 7500E features 4 hot swappable AC power supplies each with integrated fans. Power modules are installed in the rear of the chassis. Power cables are connected in the front of the chassis. The system is 2 plus 2 power redundant, which means all 4 power supplies are operational and connected to a power source. All power supplies are supplying power to the system, and 2 power supplies can sufficiently power the entire system. It is recommended to install 4 power supplies and connect the power supplies to 2 different power sources to provide grid redundancy. Please refer to the full Quick Start Guide 7500 series modular data center switches. For access to this guide, go to the support heading at arista.com, choose the product documentation page, then select the hardware tab. For access to the 7500 series modular data center switches datasheet, go to the products heading at arista.com and select the corresponding switch series bar. Lift the retaining clip on the power supply input socket. Plug the power cables that were supplied with the chassis into the AC power sockets. And last, push down the retaining clip over the cable. Check the 2 LEDs located on the power supplies to confirm that the power supplies are operating and receiving power. Use this chart as a reference to determine status. To remove a power supply, simply unfasten the spring release clip and remove the power cord. Next, pull on the ejector handles until the power supply disconnects. And last, pull the power supply module until it's completely removed from the chassis. To install a power supply module, start by sliding the module into the slot. Next, push the ejector handles forward to secure the power supply to the chassis. Plug the power cord into the front power input for the corresponding power supply. Lastly, fasten the spring release clip over the power cable. Inspect the power supply LEDs found on the power supply module to ensure proper operation. Refer to the section Power Supply Module LEDs for help. If a supervisor is installed and operating properly, you may also check the Power Supply Status LED located on the supervisor module. Use this chart as a reference to determine status. Use the CLI command Show Environment Power to verify proper installation of the power supplies. This command displays the status of all power supplies in the switch. The status of the power supply should say OK. The 7500 series features front-to-back cooling. The 7500 fans are fully integrated into the fabric modules. In 7504E, there are 3 fans per fabric for a total of 18 fans. In the 7508E, there are 5 fans per fabric for a total of 30 fans. The 7500E features N+1 fan redundancy. If one fan module fails on a fabric module, the remaining fans will supply sufficient cooling for that fabric and the area of the chassis. Recall that there are also fans integrated with the power supplies. The fans in the fabrics cool the fabric and line cards, while the fans in the power supplies cool the supervisors. If a power supply or power supply integrated fan fails, the 3 fans in the remaining power supplies are sufficient to cool the system. Fan status LEDs may be found on the fabric modules. Use this chart as a reference to determine status. If a supervisor is installed and operating properly, you may also check the fan module status LED located on the supervisor module. Use this chart as a reference to determine status. Use the CLI command Show Environment Cooling to verify all fans are operational. This command displays the fan status, airflow direction, and ambient switch temperature. The status column should say OK for every installed fan. Use the CLI command Show Environment Temperature to verify temperature sensors are normal. This command displays a table that lists the temperature measured by each sensor on the switch. The temperature levels should be below the alert and critical thresholds. The 7500 features 6 fabric modules per chassis. The fabrics are N+1 redundant, which means the chassis can run at full line rate with only 5 fabrics. The fabric modules are hot swappable. The fabric LED is located on the fabric module. Use this chart as a reference to determine status. To remove a fabric, first loosen the screws on the fabric module. Next, pull on the fabric module handle to partially remove the module. And last, grasping the fabric module frame, pull it until it's completely removed from the chassis. To install a fabric module, start by grasping the frame of the fabric module and slide the module 3/4 of the way into the slot. Next, push the fabric handles until the module is fully inserted in the chassis. And last, fasten the screws on the fabric card. Inspect the fabric module LEDs found on the fabric module to ensure proper operation. Refer to the section Fabric Module LEDs for help. If a supervisor is installed and operating properly, you may also check the fabric module's status LED located on the supervisor module. Use this chart as a reference to determine status. Use the CLI command show module to verify all fabrics are operational. This command displays various types of information about all modules, including all 6 fabrics. The fabric you install should be displayed in the output. The 7500 supports both standalone and redundant supervisor modes. In standalone mode, the supervisor should be installed in slot 1. When 2 supervisors are installed for redundancy, the supervisor in slot 1 is primary. The 7500E supervisor features one RJ45 console port, two 10-100,000 Ethernet management ports, two USB ports, and a clock input port. The status and active LEDs are located on the top right of the supervisor. Use this chart to determine status of supervisor. The supervisor also has component activity LEDs that, in addition to the LEDs located on components, help determine status of components installed in the chassis. Use this chart to determine the status of installed components. To remove the supervisor module, first pinch the ejector buttons on the handles on each end of the supervisor card. Next, spread the ejector handles outward. And last, pull the supervisor out by the ejector handles until it is completely removed from the chassis. To install the supervisor module, start by gripping the supervisors by the ejector handles. Next, slide the supervisor into the slot, keeping in mind if this is the first or only supervisor to be installed. Use slot 1. Push the card into the chassis until the handles click. Inspect the supervisor module's LEDs to ensure proper operation. Refer to section Supervisor Status LEDs for help. Use this chart to determine status of supervisor. Use the CLI command show module to verify the supervisor is operational. This command displays various information related to the modules installed in the switch, including the supervisor. Ensure module 1 is properly displaying the supervisor present with a MAC address or software version and is active. The 7500E series supports many types of line card modules that vary from 1 gig to 100 gig interfaces. The first slot used for line cards is slot 3. To install a line card module, start by gripping the line card by ejector handles on each side. Next, slide the module into the slot, starting with slot 3. Push the module into the chassis until the handles click. To remove a line card module, first pinch the ejector buttons on the handles on each end of the module. Next, spread the ejector handles outwards. And last, pull the module out by ejector handles until it is completely removed from the chassis. Each line card module provides a status LED for the entire line card. Use this chart to determine status of line card. If a supervisor is installed and operating properly, you may also check the line card module status LED located on the supervisor module. Use this chart as a reference to determine status. Use the CLI command show module to verify all line cards are operational. This command displays various information related to the modules installed in the switch, including the line cards. Ensure the line card you installed is displaying and the status says OK. Each line card also provides one LED for each port of the line card. The LEDs are shaped like arrows to indicate status of top and bottom ports. Use this chart to determine status of line card port status. Use the CLI command show interface status to verify port status. This command displays the interface name, link status, VLAN, duplex, speed, and type of interface in the switch. Verify the switch operation with the help of the commands given in this table. Thank you for watching the hardware service guide for Arista Networks 7500 series modular data center switches. Please visit arista.com or contact Arista TAC for additional questions and assistance.